TV. I have been watching and listening to you for a long time, and it's always struck me at how well adjusted you seem to be. You had to start all over and lost everything you really ever knew. How? I'm asking because I lost my job of 22 years about a year and a half ago, and I'm not adjusting well at all. Things haven't been the same since. I try to remain normal, and I'm going on with life, but feel like I'm not nearly as resilient as I once was. I guess I'm just a little desperate thinking you'll have some magical nugget of insight that you haven't already laid out for us. Do you think it's something you learned or had beaten into you in your years in Scientology? Is there any extract that can be taken and used to actually help people? I've read a lot of self-help books and things, but I find you amazing for the facts mentioned above. I need to regain or develop some resiliency. Okay, well, thank you very much for your extremely kind words about me and my resiliency. I wish in my day-to-day activity I felt the same way. I have all kinds of ups and downs, and while I do my best to present myself here in in the most favorable light. You got to really know that I've suffered through a lot of PTSD and a lot of ups and downs, and I've had my bad days, and I have definitely had my depressive episodes. And this isn't, it's not, what you see is what you get with me. This is me, but this isn't all of me, right? So anyway, I just wanted to clarify that because this isn't how I always am. But as far as advice goes, I've talked a lot about education, and I will continue to push that because I think it is the key to happiness and a good life, is knowing what you're doing, knowing where you're going, knowing what's going on around you. Critical thinking. These are really, really important, and they help me across the boards in every single aspect of my life. I've made a lot of videos about critical thinking. You can check those videos out. They're all in a playlist on my channel under critical thinking. So that's really the best life advice I know of. My Scientology stuff is basically talking about the abuses and the minutiae and the techniques and all that stuff about Scientology. But the critical thinking stuff is where I kind of try to put my best foot forward and put information out there that I think will actually help people in their lives. I've talked also in a couple of videos about recovery and the fact that, getting with cults, getting the old language out and all that kind of stuff is important. But for you, I think, I'm just kind of throwing this out there, okay? But I think another really important part of our lives is purpose. Goals, having a roadway in mind. You had a job for 22 years. I don't know what it was or how involved you were, but clearly it was important to you. And that probably had some kind of series of predictable, known things you were going to be doing. You enjoyed doing it, I guess, to some degree. You want to find a good substitute for that, a new one. And it could be along the same line, or it could be a whole reinvention. I kind of reinvented myself coming out of Scientology and made myself into a semi-public figure here. I didn't have the goal of doing that when I first got out of Scientology, but it developed. You can develop, new goals and purposes for yourself. I think that resiliency comes from strength of purpose and will. And will comes, again, back to purpose. It's a drive or an intention. You have things you want to accomplish in your life. So, set some goals. This is kind of very cliche. It's very, everybody says this, but it's kind of because it's true. Fighting depression, of course, and mental trauma or issues involved with that sometimes requires some counseling. Again, education can be very, very helpful in that regard. Reading lots of books about psychology, goal-making, strategies for people's lives, organizing things, those might be of assistance in some way. I'm lacking a lot of specifics with your situation, so I'm just totally broad shooting here. But I think that this point of purpose is really, really all-encompassing. I've got lots of purposes in my life, by the way. This isn't just a matter of finding the one thing that's going to work for you. You can have lots of things, that you want to accomplish or do. Where do you want to be, or where would you like to be? Where would you like to see yourself doing a year, 2 years, 3 years from now, 5 years, 10 years? even thinking, even posing the question can get things, parts of your brain going that you go, oh, I hadn't really thought about that, that kind of stuff in itself can be kind of fun and interesting and even exciting to, generate some kind of long-term, short-term and long-term goals. So those are really, really important. And I think underneath maybe all of this, and maybe this is unsaid or assumed or implied, and should be said out loud, is having a being okay with yourself, being okay with who you are, and that you're around, and that you're an okay person, and that things are going to be okay, and that you're doing all right. These are also important self-motivators. They don't have to be cliches or tricks. You don't have to use, it's not, staring at the mirror every morning and I'm good enough and I'm strong enough and gosh darn it, people like me. I'm not talking about that kind of, this Stuart, whatever his name is, Stuart Smalley kind of thing, right? I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about accepting, the circumstances of your life, the situations you find yourself in, kind of confronting and dealing with that situation that you're in, and knowing, or telling yourself enough times until you, fake it until you make it, that you can deal with, the future. You can deal with how you are now, and you can move forward into the future and do the things that you really do want to accomplish. I mean, unless you have, crazy goals like I want to go to the moon or something, I want to go be an astronaut. Generally speaking, a lot of things you want to accomplish are you can probably pull it off if you believe in yourself first. So that was sort of the unspoken assumption at the bottom of all of that. I wanted to say that because that's important too. And if you need some, to reach out and get some counseling or some help, or set up a support system for yourself, friends, family, associates, anything you have, use it. People are way more helpful most of the time than you might assume or think that they would be. At least that's been my experience. I have been blown away by how much help and assistance and support I have received from people, including you guys. So I don't know. That's just kind of all off the top of my head. I hope that helps. I'm not trying to be a motivational speaker here. I'm pretty bad at that. But I hope that some of this might resonate with you. Write me again if any of this, is helpful or not helpful, and let me know how that goes.